And I really appreciate you turning out this morning. It's early. I'll try to string some words together to make sense today, but it really is an honor to be with you all. We have a similar event in St. Joseph. It's been going on probably about 20 years. And I was tasked about 20 years ago to provide a pastor to pray for our city council meetings. So we have a lot in common, but we don't have a quick trip. So I'm fighting a spirit of jealousy this morning.
Not praying hard enough.
Yes. Well, I'm thankful. I appreciate Pastor Mike and the pastors of this community for inviting me to be a part of this special day. Again, in our hometown, the same thing's happening. It's wonderful to know across the country today, people are taking time out to recognize that apart from Him, we can do nothing. At least nothing that's going to last, right? Nothing that's good. So I want to start with a scripture that came to mind as I was preparing for today. It's Proverbs 11 and verse 11. It says, "Through the blessing of the upright, a city is exalted, but by the mouth of the wicked, it is destroyed." I always think about that verse when I think about our responsibility and the role we get to play. What a privilege to be able to speak into the life of these cities that we're blessed to live in. I like the Passion Translation's sort of take on this. It says, "The blessing of favor resting upon the righteous influences a city to lift it higher." And isn't that our goal? We want to see our cities lifted higher and fulfill the purpose they were created for. And although I do pastor a church, I've not always been a pastor. As Mike said, I started out as a broadcaster. I had hair back then, so people tell me today I have a face for radio, so that's okay. And that's why I switched. But I actually came from that broadcasting background to pastoring, kind of kicking and screaming, because I didn't see that as a promotion. But what I've learned is that the Lord has given us the blessing, the opportunity to exalt our city by bringing the blessing of families that are whole, of a city that seeks righteousness first. And every time I drive through my city, I pray a blessing over our town. And I guess today, though I pastor a church, my focus isn't primarily on my church. My focus is for my city, and I think that's the way it should be. We need men and women of faith in all areas of influence, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's the arts, education, healthcare, you name it, media. We need His blessing, His kingdom represented in each one of those areas, not just the church. One of the things that we're currently working on as a church in our downtown is we have no grocery store in our downtown area. In fact, where we're located is the largest food desert in the city. So we have two buildings. They're both warehouses built in the 1850s. You can imagine how much work that needs. But it's also a blessing to be able to help our city recapture its own legacy and tell the story that's kind of been forgotten through the generations. And I get to educate people. I'm not doing that because I'm better than anybody, but people don't know their own story. So educating them about their legacy. And I feel legacy is really, really important. You might ask, what business does a church or a pastor have with planting a grocery store? I would say everything, because our job is to see our city lifted up, to see people's needs met, to think about people who are food insecure, that have no way to access healthy and nutritious food. I'm not going to get on that soapbox this morning, but I just feel like it's important for me as a man who loves my city to look at the issues and the situations, and the mayor and the city council shouldn't be the only ones trying to come up with a solution for that. We can be a part of that solution. So our motive isn't just building another business. It is to meet a felt need in our community. And we're not a food pantry. We're not a food kitchen. We're a grocery store that will turn a profit, because how many of you know without a profit, you're not going to stay in business very long. But our higher goal beyond a profit is to just be a blessing to our city, to those who live, work, visit, shop in the downtown area. I live in a city that's lost its hope a long time ago. And, before I became a pastor, I didn't quite understand this concept. Now I do a little bit better. A city without hope is not something that brings glory to God and blesses its citizens. St. Joseph, you probably know this, but at one time was bigger than Kansas City and Omaha combined in its early days. We were the second city in America to get electric streetcars. The largest percent of millionaires per capita in the 1800s nationwide was Buchanan County, where we live. All you have to do is look at these elaborate mansions dotting the downtown area and know that there was a lot of wealthy folks who found their riches there. And how did they accumulate that wealth? Well, it was because of these goods and services they were able to sell to pioneering spirits who came to that place to cross the river and head west on the trails. There were 7 different trails that either originated or passed through one spot on the planet, and that spot is about a block from where our grocery store will stand. The largest migration in human history, wrap your mind around that, passed through the streets of our city. And these were men and women who were looking for new beginnings, looking for a chance to prosper and secure a better future. Our building was frequented by guests like Jesse James, who you're familiar with. The Point Express rode right by our building. All these wagon trains lining up to go west. Abraham Lincoln stopped by when he was running for president, 1859. It's just incredible, the history. And as the last Walmart before the wilderness, these business entrepreneurs seized the opportunity and gained a lot of wealth. And I don't blame them for that. St. Joseph became a beehive of entrepreneurship, of inventors, of influential business leaders. It was a modern marvel. The town was given the moniker the Queen City, the Queen of the River Cities. It was a modern marvel in the United States. And people came there from virtually every nation on the planet to begin a new life, to dream about something better that they could achieve for themselves and for their families. So what happened? Why is St. Joseph one of the only cities in America that lost population from 1900 to 2000? I think there's a reason for that. I'm only speculating, but I believe that it happened because we wasted an opportunity to be a blessing to the world, to take the God-ordained purpose that we were created for, that we were designed for, and turned it into a wealth-generating opportunity for just the few. Class warfare rose up between the haves and the have-nots. The city was divided along north and south lines to the degree that Lincoln couldn't speak in St. Joseph. It was too big of a hotbed of opinion for the day. So he only came there because it was the western terminus of the railroad, and then got on a riverboat, went upstream to Council Bluffs and across the river to friendlier territory in Kansas. St. Joseph was too much of a hotbed of strong opinions for him to dare attract an audience at that time, and things kind of went downhill from there. So why am I bringing all this up on the National Day of Prayer? Well, because I think we can learn some things. We can learn from our city's past mistakes, and we can seek God's heart for its future. Someone once taught me that in the shadow of a spiritual stronghold, you'll find the redemptive root. I really like that. In other words, you can either pray against the bad things you see around you, or you can pray toward the things that God intended from the beginning. What was his purpose for putting your city on the planet? It's no accident you're here, and you are here at this point in history. God has a purpose and an intent, and my city was created to host these pioneering souls, these men and women who were willing to risk it all for a better life. Instead of partnering with them to launch their dream, though, we took advantage of them. And I believe that's what caused its eventual decline. Don't get me wrong, it's not wrong to prosper. That's a good thing. But there's a greater purpose besides just getting rich, and that is to be a blessing to others. Proverbs 11:10 says this: "The blessing that rests on the righteous releases strength and favor to the entire city." That's the heart of the Father. I believe it's time for men and women who know their God to be strong and do great exploits, according to Daniel 11:32. We are to bring kingdom influence in every area, every sphere of culture, not to take over, but to bring the influence of the King and his kingdom. We want our cities to prosper. How best is that done? By accomplishing and discovering God's original intent and design for your city. I don't know the history of Excelsior Springs really well, but it doesn't take too much research to find out that you were a place where people came to for healing. I think that's such a fabulous legacy. This morning, as I was polishing my notes, the phrase came to me, this is a healing place. I think that's a tremendous legacy. And the King has an answer for people who need healing. Physical, spiritual, mental, emotional healing. In fact, every problem, every situation that man wrestles with, heaven has a response to that. And that's what we're seeking. And you'll have to spend time seeking his heart to find out how he intends to revive that redemptive root here in Excelsior Springs. Not just one day of prayer emphasizing our need for God, but every day seeking his heart, a lifestyle of partnering with heaven. But I encourage you to dream big. Don't pray small prayers. Most Christians don't dream nearly big enough. I think there's a bunch of bored angels in heaven waiting to do something big. Give me a challenge. That's what they're after. And you can rest assured there will be naysayers. There will be negative people. Those who love to parrot the problem instead of being a part of the solution. But that's not who we are. God's looking for champions in this city, and I think I'm looking at him right now. His heart is for this city. And I may be a pastor, but I'm also looking ways to solve my city's problems, like the hunger problem. I also serve on the city's planning commission, so I'm part of helping encourage businesses and developments that will last far beyond my time here on this earth. So my question to you today is, what are you investing in? Are you willing to be a part of the solution? Are you a blessing to the city that you live in, or are you cursing your city? Sometimes it's our own mouths that are the biggest problem, perpetuating the issues. And what comes out of here originates here. So it's a heart issue, really. Are you part of the solution, or are you just parroting the problems that aren't too hard to find? Are you seeking God for his heart for your city? And that's huge. That's a huge part of what prayer really is all about. Years ago, the Lord challenged me by asking me some questions. He said, Tim, if not here, then where? If not now, then when? And if not you, then who? And I think those are questions we all have to answer. And on this National Day of Prayer, I encourage you to answer those questions the way Isaiah did, by saying, here am I. Send me. Here am I. You say, what can I do? You're perfectly positioned to fulfill the role, the call that you were created for. No one can do it like you. And like Esther, you were brought into the kingdom. You were brought to this place, this moment, for such a time as this. Your city is waiting for heaven's solutionaries to rise up and bring the blessing that you carry. I believe there's no greater assignment than to fulfill the purpose that you were created for. So let's get to work. Let's partner with heaven and see his kingdom come, his will be done here in Excelsior Springs. It starts now with us and with those that you have influence over the minute you walk out these doors today. Heaven is waiting, so is your city. Let's spend time on our knees, seeking his heart, and then let's get up off our knees and be a part of the solution. All of heaven is ready to back you up. God bless you. Thanks for letting me come down and be with you today.